It's time for the Josh Kirby on Sports Podcast.
On this edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast, we break down the NFC and AFC Championship games in the NFL. Tom Brady beating Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau, and the Red Hot Chiefs doing what they do best. Plus, a special preview on what is to come on the Kirby on Sports Podcast's YouTube page, along with Fight Talk with Carlos Martinez. But before we begin, we would like to thank our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, and Chief Graphics. Big thanks as well to Dave Johnson and Productions by Quet for their support of the Kirby on Sports Podcast as well. All right, it is time for another edition of the Kirby on Sports Podcast. It all starts right now.
I'm glad you connected. This is Dave Johnson, voice of the Washington Wizards. You have connected to the right place because you are listening to my man, Josh Kirby, on Sports Podcast.
1 year ago today, as we are recording this podcast, we lost a beautiful athlete, player, human, Kobe Bryant. 1 year ago today, it was tragic. It was devastating for the whole basketball community, the whole community, period. So, starting off this podcast, remembering Kobe Bryant. Once again, I'm Josh Kirby. You're tuned in to the Kirby on Sports Podcast. Joining me once again, Dan Dembski and Carlos Martinez. Guys, how we doing?
Doing okay, man. Hanging in there. Just sad that football season's almost over, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, one more game to go, and then, like I said, we're back to the dark ages.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Kobe Bryant, a year ago today, it seems surreal that it's been this long since we've lost Kobe Bryant. This is just one of the times where you will remember where you are the day Kobe Bryant died. And I'll tie this back into Dan Dembski because he shared this first when I was in a Wawa getting food. And I just checked my Facebook, and Dan shares on Facebook this TMZ report saying Kobe died. And I'm like, why is Dan sharing this? Because I thought at the time TMZ was a load of crap and they didn't actually report real news because, you know, the show just seems different. I just thought it was fake, but then the news just started rolling in. And next thing you know, reports make it official that Kobe Bryant tragically lost his life in Calabasas, California during a helicopter crash. So then all the news outlets ran it for days and days and days. I mean, that's how serious it was. But that's sort of my recollection and my memory about the passing of Kobe Bryant. But I mean, as a year goes by, it's like, I can't believe it's been this long since the NBA has lost a legend. He touched so many people's lives. And it was just really, really, really crazy to me a year ago when it actually happened. I was like, I can't believe this actually happened. And I was actually pretty sad about it too. I was like, this is incredible. This is unreal. And I mean, 1 year ago today, it's sort of surreal that it's been a year since Kobe Bryant had left this earth.
Yeah, I remember. I don't think I was in class when I first saw the news, and I was actually scrolling through Twitter, and I can't remember if someone retweeted it or it was blowing up. But I saw that original TMZ post: Kobe Bryant dead in helicopter crash, and it literally was shortly after they tweeted it was when I shared it on Facebook. Um, and then, like you said, it was. I mean, I sat there for a minute and more than a minute, and I was just like, this can't be real. Like, they had just shown him at a Lakers game, I think like 2 days before or something like
The
that.
night before,
Yeah, yeah,
when
yeah,
LeBron James broke his record for something. I don't
yeah,
remember what, but I remember it was the night before he was
yeah,
with LeBron at the Lakers game, and then this all happened the very next day.
yeah. And it was just, I think denial was the first stage for me, and I was just like, there's no way this is real. And then within 10 or 15 minutes, like you said, you had CNN, Fox News, ESPN, all the major news and sports outlets um, were reporting the same thing, that it had been confirmed. And I think that was the thing. There was a lot of suspicion over um whether it was real or not. And I think a lot of people had that thought. And you make a good point, Kirby. They really, TMZ. There's a lot of ethical questions with how they do business. A lot of times, especially how they break news. Um, Supposedly, it was like a police officer or first responder who originally reported it to TMZ. Now I don't know how they got access to that. It's supposed to be like a closed off sort of thing. But so that's like another side of it. But yeah, I mean, it was almost just it was just it just knocked me back, and I was just silent. I mean, I couldn't talk to anyone. I couldn't say anything. By the time it had been widely reported, obviously I had the TV on, and they were um, talking about it, and then they showed a live feed from the crash site, and that's when it all hit at once. I can't really remember or recall if I cried or not, but I'm sure I was fairly close.
No, yeah.
Because when you talk about an athlete you grew up with, I mean, I think all three of us can say that Kobe Bryant was probably one of the biggest athletes in our lifetimes, um, and he had sort of a troubled past at times, but it was the things he'd done, in the last 7 or 8 years of his life, where he had turned his life around, of course, retired from basketball, and really became what a lot of people described as and people knew as someone who had a great foothold in the community, um, both in the Los Angeles area and otherwise. And you know, another thing about this is his daughter, the loss of his daughter as well, and she was really, excuse me, starting to sort of come into her own as a basketball player, and you kind of wonder, with Kobe being her father, I think he would have been, and he was well on his way to becoming a great ambassador for women's basketball, and so that adds a whole other layer to it. You have the family side of it as well, and it's it's still shocking all this time after a year. It's hard to believe a year's gone by, but we've seen so much shit happen in the last year. Really after this, but as Carlos alluded to before we started, it kind of all 2020 was really one year of one bad thing after another. So I think after you know March, when things started to get bad with COVID and we saw so many other crazy things happen, this story and the loss of Kobe was, I think, was kind of lost in translation and tucked away. But um, it's I think it's important to be reminded um, every year there's an anniversary of something like this, because you remember the positive things, and Kobe Bryant certainly was a great ambassador to basketball. He was a great father, and he was one of the greatest basketball players we've ever seen. Of course, that's going to be widely debated for years and years to come as we see more generations of basketball players. But, you can't deny the hunger and the intensity and the willingness to win that Kobe Bryant had. I think his competitiveness is right up there with some of the greatest basketball players of our time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And just to say, he was the day after that game, they were going on the helicopter with a few other people to go to Kobe's basketball game that he was coaching. So, I mean, like you said, he had a foothold in the community, and he was doing a lot of good for the community and coaching kids and stuff. And the basketball world was just in shock over it. Like, I remember the night of the Wizards were playing, and they did a special tribute on Kobe Bryant. It was all Kobe Bryant, and all the teams that were slated to play today, they had a special tribute, everything. And then obviously the Lakers just postponed their game because of the fact that Kobe tragically lost his life. But I mean, this was, in my opinion, the Kobe Bryant death really screwed this world up after that. Because then right after, like, just in a blink of an eye, you have a pandemic that is crippling this world. We're slowly but surely getting through this. But yeah, I mean, time flies when you see an anniversary like this, unfortunately. But then after that, it's like the pandemic came right after. And look where we are, still in a pandemic.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. This is tough because so I remember where I was when this happened. I had just woken up from a nap. Um, and I got on Instagram and I saw somebody had posted Kobe Bryant, like a picture of Kobe Bryant, black and white, with like the date or the year he was born and also 2020, like, the dates that he lived and the date that he died. And at first I was like, this is a joke. Like, why would somebody make something like this? So then, like, I got on a Google, I just looked up Kobe Bryant and I started seeing all this news coverage. I was like, no way, this is not true. And as I started like going into it further and then realizing that um that he died with his daughter, um apparently um in his arms, that's what really got me. I did cry. I won't lie to you guys. I cried when it all happened. I didn't cry immediately. It wasn't until I was telling my mom what happened that it finally got to me. Um and um Kobe was so I've always been a LeBron James guy. Like, I'm unashamed of that. I've loved LeBron since I started watching basketball. He was the first game I ever watched was a game that unfortunately they lost to the Wizards in the playoffs. That was the first game I ever watched for LeBron. But Kobe was always like he was like, whenever he was on, you just couldn't ever deny the man's greatness. And then to hear that his daughter, that Gigi, um that she was pretty much like, a lot of people said that she was going to be the one that was going to propel like the women's basketball into like the next level. And to know that we'll never be able to see that is also heartbreaking. But not only that, it's heartbreaking to know that, you know, that as a this is like really tough to talk about, because the reason why, like, I have a little sister, so like, and that's the same age as Gigi, so like that's why, like, that it really hits home about Gigi, because, like, I just can't imagine losing my little sister like that. So like, to imagine how the Bryant family's doing without them is what really makes this hard. But yeah, Kobe was just so like it wasn't even just the when he died, like the tributes that came from around the world in multiple sports, from you know Barcelona's soccer team, paying a tribute to them, paying a tribute at the Super Bowl for him, baseball games, everybody wearing 24 jerseys. It was crazy how he transcended all sports, yet he was only a basketball player. And then to know that also like he was just a great dad, and also like he was thriving outside of basketball. Like he won an Oscar for a short film. Like it's crazy to think how successful he was outside of basketball, and then just how it could all end like that. And it was just shocking because like things like this don't happen to people like Kobe Bryant. You don't think that he's larger than life, and then for him to just go like that, it was heartbreaking.
Absolutely. I mean, touching story there, Carlos. But I mean, it's just so sad to see a legend gone so soon. I mean, he retired, but yet he was still doing good in the community from what I have seen over the course of this year and stuff, and all these stories, tributes I've read about Kobe Bryant. But nonetheless, you cannot deny Kobe's greatness. They put him in the Hall of Fame to honor him after he died. But I think he was set to go in the Hall of Fame either way. So
No doubt.
I mean,
no doubt.
I mean, no matter if you're a LeBron fan, you're a Michael Jordan fan, you're whoever else, you cannot deny how great Kobe Bryant was in our era of basketball. And who knows, if we have kids, grandkids one day, we can tell them that, hey, if we see highlights of Kobe Bryant, I was alive to see that man play, and he did a darn good job playing the game that he loved to play, which was basketball.
Yeah, I think anything he put his mind to, he was going to go 110%. And I think he saw that after, of course, while he played basketball. I still think back to his 81-point game, which is,
Insane.
Legendary.
It's just absurd. I mean, you can't even wrap your head around, one player scoring 81 points in one game. But really, if you go back and watch those highlights, I think he scored like 60 points in like, since like the mid third quarter. So I mean, he was on fire in the third and fourth quarter of that game. But with his work in the community, and Carlos, like you said, with his film, it's just everything he wanted to do. He just went at it with this attitude that he's going to go 110%. And, I think that's another thing to strive for as far as role model, as far as having a role model who was an athlete. And I think someone who had such a big impact like Kobe Bryant did. And it's just a shame because I think a lot of people wanted to know what was next. What the rest of his story would hold, but it's just cut off too soon, man. Crazy.
Gone, but never forgotten. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace. You're listening to the Kirby on Sports podcast. I'm Josh Kirby. Riding with me, Dan Dembski and Carlos Martinez. As always, big thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserve, Shenandoah Primitives, and Chief Graphics. Big thanks to Dave Johnson and Productions by Quet for their support as well. Gentlemen, let's get into the next topic of discussion, Championship Sunday. A more happy note, so to speak. But, gentlemen, Championship Sunday. It was a great time on Sunday. Got to sit back, kick back, watch some football, and there were some exciting moments that happened within each of the games that we're going to discuss. Starting off, I mean, this just makes me laugh, chuckle to myself, but we pretty much witnessed in this 31-26 Tampa Bay Buccaneers win over the Green Bay Packers that Tom Brady is the greatest to ever play the game of football. I mean, there are probably
No
debates. I mean, you could probably debate.
No.
You can't even put Montana in that class anymore.
You
man.
can't debate. You can't debate anything.
Montana couldn't win outside of San Francisco.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying people might debate the older generations might debate. Oh, what about Montana? Oh, what about Bart Starr? Oh, what about
what? Bart Starr?
Oh, God.
I mean, those guys. Okay.
I'm just making an example.
No. You cannot. You can't even say that people are that TV heads or anything like that are going to argue this because nobody can. You can't argue a man making 10 Super Bowls and not call him the GOAT. You can't argue a man coming down from what was it?
I wasn't
28 to
arguing.
3?
I was just saying if the older generation.
You can't even put the older generation in this.
Yeah, they won't.
They're not arguing the point either. They're all saying themselves that Brady's the GOAT.
Well,
who's better than Brady? Nobody.
Nonetheless,
Bart Starr apparently.
Apparently, could throw Bart Starr in there.
That is not what I said. I said the older generation might think the quarterback.
Why would the older generation think
might
that?
Be better, but
this is all I'm gonna say. They're wrong.
I don't even think the older generation thinks this. Move on. Let's go on.
Well, nonetheless, it's 100% unanimous. I mean, my eyes have been opened after this game.
Really, it was this game that opened. Really, it wasn't the Atlanta Super Bowl that opened your eyes.
Yeah, well, I just had a grudge against the Patriots. I didn't like the Patriots and Tom Brady.
Nah, man.
See, that's just silly.
Get at it. No, get at it. Like, come on, man.
I
even recognize greatness.
But
I knew Brady was the GOAT for a long time.
Listen, I recognize greatness 100%. In Tom Brady, I mean, he will go into the Hall of Fame. I don't know. They might give him 3 gold jackets for the amount of accomplishment.
Yeah. I mean, he's had like 3 Hall of Fame careers as it is.
I don't know. This man, after he retires, I mean, he's going to live the luxurious life. I think
already does.
Tampa Bay and New England, he will be treated to free meals the rest of his life. That's how
no doubt.
great he is.
Definitely New England.
For sure.
Definitely New England. Tampa Bay, well, that remains to be seen. It depends if he actually wins the Super Bowl or not.
So can we talk about the fact that Bill Belichick's sitting at home and Tom Brady didn't need him?
Made that point last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Bill Belichick thinking right now?
He's asking Brady to retire and retire as a Patriot so they can sign him for one day and have him go.
I mean, that's probably
Patriots
what's going to happen though.
Tomorrow. Yeah. I don't see any way he retires as a Buccaneer with any other team other than New England. I mean,
yeah,
you spend 20 years, or I guess it was 19 years technically with one organization. You're gonna retire there. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. So.
No doubt, Tom Brady is the greatest to ever live. I bet you
to ever live.
Yeah, let's.
The greatest to ever play the game of football. Yes.
Greatest to ever play the game of football. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Greatest to ever live, buddy.
I'm getting my words mixed up.
He's right up there with Jesus.
I mean, the people of Boston probably treat him like that.
Yeah,
the words got mixed up. Gentlemen, let's dive into this game, though.
All right.
Well, let's dive into this game. Yes, let's.
I don't really know where to start. Because
how about we start with the Buccaneers building a huge lead and then Brady almost giving them the game, but then the Packers not being able to. In 3 straight interceptions, they get 6 points. That's all they got. They got 2 field
That's
goals.
Unheard of with Aaron Rodgers. I'm very surprised to see.
They choked under pressure, and they don't deserve to say the game was.
I don't know if they choked. I think it was more just that Tampa defense is just very. They were doing pretty good. They were getting.
I think so.
I don't think
disagree with
it was
there.
that they choked. I really think that it was just this Tampa Bay defense. We just underestimated them.
I think it's a good point. That's fair.
Because I mean, because again, look at what they did in Week 6 against Packers earlier in the season. I mean, they pretty much did the same thing. They rushed with the front four and they got pressure, and their front four has not been talked about at all. And they got pressure now, albeit I will give them this, that the Packers not having Bakhtiari at left tackle definitely hurt them. That hurt them, and it finally caught up to them. But I mean, it wasn't. I mean, my Lord. I mean, Rodgers was sacked 5 times to Brady's 1. Like, I can't sit here and say, that the Packers choked. I just feel like this Buccaneers defense was just playing lights out.
I really think so too, because I mean, in comparison to, I want to compare Tampa Bay to the Tampa Bay Washington game in the wild card. Their defense was good, but I don't think they were as good as was seen in this game, because
they stepped it up.
Yeah, they stepped it up a lot
time
from Washington, in my opinion. And I look at their defense and I'm like, getting Rodgers sacked, not giving him enough time in the pocket, that was huge. And you know what Aaron Rodgers can do? He can turn a free play into a touchdown. And I was very shocked to see Rodgers get sacked 5 times. But I mean, credit to the Buccaneers defense, because they were ready to play. Yeah, I mean, one of the headlines coming into this game, Brady and Gronk know how to play in cold weather, but what about the rest of the team? And they stepped up. It was snowing in Lambeau, perfect playoff conditions, and they upset this 13-3 Green Bay Packers team, and they did it in amazing fashion. Because I think, what was that?
I was just going to say, I think in general, the cold weather thing is overblown.
Yeah, I think
a lot of times in the media. I mean, they talk about that as a precursor to if they lose, you could blame the cold weather or whatever, or you could say that with any sort of any team, but especially in cold weather and especially in the playoffs. I mean, it seems it's just lame to me. I've never really understood.
Do you think that it doesn't play a factor because this Bucs team is from Florida and they're usually in a warm climate?
No, I think that
Obviously
it was more. I think a lot of the talk early was that it was going to be snowing during the game, and
that's different. Yeah, that's different.
I think that's what a lot of the talk was. It snowed before the game, but when kickoff came, it eventually became sunny. So like it didn't, and there was not a single like flake of snow on the field, so it really didn't do too much, in terms of affecting the game per se. Now, if it was like what happened when the Packers played the Titans, then Green Bay would have definitely had the advantage, because again, they know what cleat sizes or whatever to use, and all that. They play in that regularly up there in Green Bay. So, and Tampa they don't even see snow ever. So, I think
I don't disagree with that. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, I think that ultimately the weather did not end up affecting this game. Also, it wasn't necessarily that cold, like as cold as, as say like the championship game in like 2007 when the Giants upset the Packers. Then it was like -20. Ultimately, it ended up having no effect.
Yeah, but I mean, nonetheless, this game. No, I mean, Tampa Bay stepped up in every way, because really, to say this, Washington only lost to Tampa Bay by 8, and they're going to be in the Super Bowl. Washington, they were beat up. They were on their whatever string quarterback.
Anything to get some shine on the Washington football team.
No,
every time if you bring it up, he'll bring it up.
I'm just saying the Bucs stepped up in every way, because if Washington were playing this Bucs team that Green Bay faced, they get blown out of the water. I guarantee it.
You're comparing two different teams. I mean, when
apples
they
to
play,
oranges.
when they played Washington, there's no way they played their best game. They were definitely looking past them. I think we can all say that. And when you're going up against the best team in the NFC and Aaron Rodgers and having to stop that Packers offense, I mean, that's when you bring your A game 110%, and that's what the Buccaneers did. I mean, give Bruce Arians and staff a lot of credit for how they game planned in this game. And like you said, Carlos, the Buccaneers defense was extremely, played extremely well. They really, Rodgers still put up really good numbers, but the one thing they did that really helped him was stop the run, especially stop Aaron Jones. He had 27 yards rushing, so that really makes a team one-dimensional, and that's what they forced Aaron Rodgers and the Packers to become. And, the Packers missed a couple big plays. They had some chances downfield. They had a couple drops. Rodgers was a little inaccurate a couple times. If they connect on some of those bigger plays, I mean, we're talking about a different game. And sometimes, it's a game of inches, and sometimes it's a game of, if you make one or two more plays, it's a different outcome. And obviously, when it's less than a 7-point win, I think that's kind of the case here.
Yeah. Just a lot of, man, Rodgers just ultimately just without that running game, it really hurt them. Like Aaron Jones getting knocked out like early in the second half, I believe it was when he had that fumble.
Right.
Was huge ultimately, I think. But it was even before that, they couldn't really get anything going. Like Jamal Williams and AJ Dillon ultimately couldn't get anything going either. Really, where they were doing the most damage was in the passing game, but again, like you said, like Rodgers missed a lot of big throw. Like there were guys that were literally wide open that he just did not see.
Yeah,
and I think it was because the pressure was getting to him, so he was trying to just get the ball out quickly. He couldn't make all his reads. I mean, but the one thing that like really, and I said this in our group text that we have, like the one thing that really got me was when it was in the second quarter and they ran like 3 straight plays in the red zone trying to get it to Devontae Adams. I was like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah,
they relied they were trying to force it to Devontae too much. And there was times where Alan Lazard was open there too. And if he would have just passed it to Alan Lazard would have gotten in, it would have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
Is it just me, or was Tampa Bay double covering on Devontae Adams most of the football?
I mean, of course they were. Why wouldn't you?
They planned for that, and it worked pretty well.
Yeah.
Well, they know how much Aaron loves Devontae's, his number one target. And Mercedes Lewis made an interesting appearance in this game. He threw receptions for 28 yards, but it felt like he had a few more catches than that. But he's normally just a blocking tight end.
Yeah.
But surprisingly, Devontae wasn't even the leading, receiver. It was Marquez Valdez-Scantling, or MVS. He had 4 receptions for 115 yards and 1 touchdown. He had that. It was the first touchdown he had. I think it was. But it just there was just so many mistakes in this. Like this was not the Packers team that we had seen all season.
Absolutely. And can I discuss one point? I think the game sort of shifted momentum. Right when was it? Right before halftime, when Tom Brady found Scott Miller for that touchdown. What was their defense doing?
He was wide open.
I mean,
I think he missed a read there or something.
Yeah,
no,
King got schooled all game.
Yeah.
So for some reason,
terrible.
For some reason, they weren't playing like prevent or anything like that on defense, and they're playing man to man, and King just underestimated Scotty Miller's speed. Like I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think he
saw a bad game. He had a bad game in general.
King had a really bad game.
Oh yeah.
He got torched a lot. I feel like it started from that Scotty Miller touchdown that it just went downhill for him. And ultimately, though, like I just really feel bad for Aaron Rodgers because I really thought this was going to be the year he was going to be able to make another Super Bowl, and for it to end the way it ended, where he didn't even get a chance to go for it on 4th down, even though you're down, what was it, 8 points?
I don't understand that call. Period. Why did they kick the field goal?
That was
dumb.
dumb.
But not only that, why did they go for the 2-point conversion earlier in the game? I thought that was a stupid call too. That a lot of people aren't talking about the fact that they go for a 2-point conversion. You're leaving points on the table there. Like just get because at that point it was, it was 23-28. You just get kicked the extra point. You're down 3. Why are you going for 2? I understand because then all you need is a field goal to take the lead, but it's just like, I'd rather be in a position to tie better than, I need to, I don't know. It was just a mess down there, honestly, because now you're going to need the touchdown and the 2-point conversion again.
I don't agree with
or to tie.
I don't agree with this, but some people I've talked to about this game said it was fixed so Tom Brady would get back in the Super Bowl.
Oh, please. Every time Brady wins, people say that.
Well, it wasn't that. I mean, we saw, even NFL players saying that it was, that it was rigged because of the, of that pass interference call at the end of the game, but then they weren't calling it at all for the rest of the game prior to that. It was ridiculous. Like that to me was really stupid because there were more egregious versions of pass interference earlier in the game that they didn't call. And then on some rinky-dink little jersey pull, they're like, okay, now we'll throw the flag at the end of the game when it's the most consequential.
It wasn't just a jersey pull. I mean, if you go back and watch it, I mean, he was pulling his undershirt off. Yeah. So I mean, the refs aren't going to miss that. I think some of the pass interference calls that were missed earlier in the game were more close contact grabbing jerseys, which is still pass interference. I don't disagree with that, but when there's that much of a pull and separation with a jersey, the refs aren't going to miss that. That's just the bottom line. And I get the frustration, but the Packers had so many chances in this game, and they just couldn't come through. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, whenever your defense gets you 3 interceptions and you only get 6 points off of it, 100%. Like that's on Green Bay too. Like how do you not only that, it was 3 interceptions in one half.
Yeah,
right.
So it's like and you only come up with
Tom Brady do that.
I mean, lately you have, I mean, just.
There was some questionable decision making.
Absolutely.
Very questionable. I just feel like
from Matt LaFleur several times in this game.
I feel like it definitely got to Matt LaFleur for sure.
Does somebody lose their job over this game?
No.
Maybe the defensive coordinator at Green Bay, but I don't think so.
No,
Okay.
I think it's just a young coach in a tough situation, and he's not used to being there maybe, and it's just too big of a moment for a young coach, and he made some bad decisions. It's something you build on. I do think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back next year, and
they've already said that he's coming back next year.
Yeah, well,
did you hear the
see.
press conference though? How deflating Aaron Rodgers sounded, and he was
there's
a lot of uncertainty.
But did you guys hear him on Pat McAfee's show today?
I did not get a chance to watch.
He cleared it all up. He knows he's not going to leave, basically.
Man,
and then also a higher up in Green Bay said, "We're not stupid. Aaron Rodgers will be here."
I saw that.
Year.
I did see that. Yeah, and one thing too to think about is like people make a big deal about what players say after games a lot of times, but they're caught up in the emotions of the immediate impact of that game, and just like human beings do. They say things sometimes that they don't mean because they're frustrated or angry at a situation or pissed about how they played or decision-making that happened. I mean, it could be a slew of things that causes a frustrating response. And I think Aaron Rodgers had every reason to be frustrated with how that game
absolutely.
How that game ended up with the decision-making and just the lack of execution, I think, in general.
So
for it to be taken out of his hands at the most crucial moment on that fourth down, and not because he even said it himself. He thought that it was 4-down territory at that point. That's why he didn't, try to make that he said if he would have known that we were gonna, kick a field goal if it came to fourth down, he would have called a different play. But also another thing about that post game press conference, it's something that he said also on Pat McAfee's show, and something that Pat McAfee has said, that like your season just abruptly ends at that point. Like it's over. And it's just like, then you realize, we just grinded to get to this point, and now what do we have to show for it?
And they were the team to beat in the NFC. I mean, everybody knew that coming into the postseason. So
this was the first time that, the Packers had home field at a championship game in Aaron Rodgers' career.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
I can, and not only that, he was just like, another thing was like, I looked around and I said, and realized that, I'll never be with this group of guys. Like, again, like a bunch, like people are going to leave next year. People are, we're going to get new guys in here, but this group of guys who we can tell this Packers team was something special. I mean, they were definitely they were definitely more like close than, teams in the past, maybe up until the 2010 team. But that it's sad to think that you couldn't finish the job with these guys that you really got close with.
Yeah, and the Bucs had a 28-10 lead.
And they came back.
Yeah, and when the Packers started coming back, that's when I had a feeling that, okay, this game is, Rodgers is going to come back and save the day. But it's almost like they used up all their energy, they used up all their gas trying to get back into the game, and then they just kind of ran out of juice there at the end, and just couldn't make enough plays and execute. So, yeah, that was definitely frustrating, because I think I was rooting for the Packers.
I was.
I mean, I think most of America is sick of seeing Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, whether you love him or hate him.
I don't really have an issue with Tom Brady in the Super Bowl for the NFC.
Oh, says the guy who just a little bit earlier in this podcast said, I held a grudge on the Patriots. That's why he wasn't the greatest when he won the Atlanta Super Bowl.
I said in Tampa Bay. You're never going to let me live that down. You're never.
No.
But
no.
Okay.
I can't believe you're fine with it, because Tampa beat Washington in the playoffs. So it's
that
kind of
too.
surprising.
Wait, no, because it adds shine to Washington that they almost that they were at least competitive against the team in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so first and foremost, when I heard Aaron Rodgers say that in the press conference, I really didn't think he was going to leave, but there was a thought in the back of my mind, like, what if Aaron Rodgers decides to leave? But I mean, Green Bay is a historic franchise. They'd be absolutely insane to let Aaron Rodgers walk.
And listen, it's a different situation with Aaron Rodgers than it is with, say, Drew Brees, who you can see Drew Brees has lost it. I mean,
yes,
he can't play the position anymore. Rodgers threw for almost 350 yards and 3 touchdowns.
He's going to be MVP this year.
This guy can still play. I mean, there's no question about it. So, and I don't. He's not one of those players you could visualize in another uniform. Of course, we all thought that about Tom Brady, but look where things are
Peyton
now.
Manning.
Yeah, Manning was weird too, but I think that one was a little bit further in the works than just kind of a sudden move like Brady had, but. It's they're different situations. It's amazing the way Rodgers still throws the football at his age, still being able to do it now.
Because started lifting. Because he started lifting.
Yeah, that's right.
Like working on his legs. That's what he said that was the key thing that changed a lot this season. That's why he played a lot better this year.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So and. I know Aaron Rodgers comes on the Pat McAfee show each and every Tuesday, is it?
Mm-hmm.
So you listen to it, Carlos. So can you sort of explain what his emotion was like in his show as compared to the press conference? What was he still? Do you think he was still down from the loss, or what was he like?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was obviously still kind of down, but he wasn't like, I guess, I don't know. Like he was a lot cheerier, when compared to his press conference, that was immediately after.
Yeah.
And he said, like, that press conference was after he was like in the locker room crying with some of his teammates. Because of, again, like this was a hard loss, and now he's had a couple, it's been a couple days since, so he's been able to process it. He seems a lot better now. He knows he doesn't put any blame on LaFleur at all, honestly.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
That's really good. We can never have an Aaron Rodgers, Mike McCarthy thing that came out like before.
Yeah.
No.
That would be a travesty.
I truly believe that Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers are pretty much on the same page there. It's just LaFleur, for some reason, took the decision out of Rodgers' hands on that last play. It is what it is, but I'm pretty sure they're going to talk about it. But yeah, he was fine. He just didn't, they didn't really talk too much about the game per se a lot,
I have to say the cool thing about that show is Pat McAfee and AJ Hall just sitting there smoking a cigar while Aaron Rodgers is on Zoom with them or whatever.
It's the most
use.
relaxed show I think I've ever listened to.
Pat McAfee's probably one of the funniest and the best.
He's a natural, man.
He's a powerhouse, man. He's a powerhouse, and Aaron Rodgers even said it today, like, because obviously this is going to be the last time he's going to be on this season. I don't know if he's going to be doing this again next season, but he said that Tuesdays, in terms of his media obligations and stuff like that going on Pat McAfee show is his most favorite thing to do, because it's always a good time, because it's not like, he's not reiterating like, the same questions over and over again. Like it's actually like just like, it's actually a conversation. And then on top of that, like, Pat McAfee's crew is just one of the best, out there, and they're just entertaining and they just have a good time.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the next storyline. The first time ever in NFL history, the host team will be the home team in the Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be playing in the Super Bowl in none other than Tampa Bay. What a perfect storyline. What a perfect I mean, not for Tom Brady, but the whole Bucs team, because they've been through years and years of like Jameis Winston and LASIK and 30 touchdowns, 30 picks and stuff like that. And they get to play in a Super Bowl at home.
Yeah, this is something that I got to admit, when people were talking about it at the beginning of the season, I thought it was ludicrous.
I did too.
Yeah,
I knew this Buccaneers team had weapons for Brady, but I think a lot of the concern coming in was, we saw how Brady played his last year in New England. He seemed to have lost a step or two. There's no doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think was on the minds of a lot of people. But you got to give credit where credit's due. There was a rocky start to this season for Tampa Bay, especially that blowout loss against the Saints. I think it
twice.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah, and they just found a way to recover and continue to grind this season. And credit to Tom Brady. I mean, he got better with each week and got more comfortable with his receivers and backs, and they deserve it. I mean, there's no other way around it. And got to give credit to that defense too. They've played well. They haven't been talked about a lot this season, but they've been a top 10 defense this year. So, obviously when Brady's your quarterback, it's going to be all people talk about, really. So credit to the Tampa Bay Bucs. I mean, they've had a fantastic year, and they've won when it matters most. And I think that speaks to Brady, but it also speaks to the job Bruce Arians has done down there. And I have a ton of respect for him. And of course he went to my alma mater, so that helps too. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy to think about. And of course Tom Brady's a part of it. It's a record-breaking moment, and of course Brady's a part of it. It's just how it goes.
Well, you can tell that Tom Brady's the guy that when he walks in the building, everybody gets better. Like everybody, even from like the equipment staff, and because like he just demands that. Like you have to be. It's Tom freaking Brady. Yeah. But it's so fascinating, this stat that, like, because I remember the year that the Super Bowl was in Dallas. I remember the talk was that was going to be the year that the Cowboys were going to make the Super
Oh
Bowl.
yeah.
But
Oh
that was the year that Romo broke his collarbone early in the season,
Yeah, I
and we
remember
just
that.
never fully recovered. But oh man, it's just that's so crazy to think that that no team has ever been like at home for that, and like this is the first one. Not only that like this is the year that the NFC is designated as the home team, so they'll be wearing their home jerseys at home. It's crazy, dude.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, like I mean, it's so crazy to think that one player coming in has changed this whole entire franchise and made them from a team that can't even reach the playoffs since 2007 to all the way to the Super Bowl in 1 year. You said something that there was doubts this season about them making the Super Bowl. Like they never really even got going during the regular season. It felt like it was
Right.
always like a roller coaster ride. Like they'd be great one week, and the next week they'd be really bad. And it just feels like they never really got that going. And then just during these playoffs, they finally kicked it into high gear. And it's just I think Tom Brady just in the playoffs he just becomes a different person. It turns on. He's like LeBron James, where the regular season is the regular season. As long as I make the playoffs, I can get it done. And I mean, I really thought that I didn't think that they were going to make it this year. I thought if anything, it would be until next year that they would make it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be so soon, but the fact that they're in here and that they beat the number one team, and they, just credit to them.
Yeah, and this is a team that lost all of their games before the bye week, and I mean we're talking about losing to the Bears. They lost to the Bears, of course. The Saints twice, and then the Rams and Kansas City. Those Rams and Kansas City right before the bye week, and they were a 7-5 team going into Week 14, and I think a lot of people were like, "Oh man, this is not going to end well this year." But they rattle off 4 straight wins to end the season, and they barely sneak into the playoffs, and you got to give credit where credit's due. They came to play in each of these games, and I'm not going to give my prediction for the Super Bowl, but I think it's going to be tough for them. But think about that matchup in the regular season. They barely lost that game, so this is just a team, and like you said, Carlos, Brady is the reason why they're here. He makes the biggest difference, and when he steps onto the field, everybody just sort of steps up and does what they're supposed to do and then some. And I think that's the biggest compliment you can give a team, honestly.
So let me ask you all this. Since it's the Super Bowl and there will be some fans attending along with like 7,500
Right.
vaccinated healthcare workers, which kudos
Well
to the NFL
deserved.
for
Yep.
doing that. Absolutely well deserved. But does home field advantage play a factor for Tampa Bay?
No.
No.
It does not?
I'm going to say no.
But
No.
what? Because I don't think it will either. Because I mean, with COVID, I know there are a limited amount of fans. So could there be like ticket designations, 50% for whoever?
Well, yeah, it's a neutral site game, so yeah, it'll be 50-50 split between the Chiefs and the Bucks. But another thing that I just now remembered that I think it'll play a factor is that obviously Tampa Bay is going to be home. Kansas City's not flying in until the Friday before the game. They're not going to be there all week because of COVID protocols. They're going to fly in the Friday of or the Friday before the game and then have to adjust to that. Florida, who knows how humid and how hot it's going to be in Florida compared to how cold it is in Kansas City.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah. I mean,
so actually, I might give the Buccaneers a little advantage on home field because they're going to be using their locker room, their facility, their everything. Nothing's going to be different for them.
Yeah. It's
they don't have to,
like a normal game.
They're not going to have to fly in anywhere. They're already there.
Yeah. I think especially at the start of the game, we're going to see whether I think we'll see from the onset whether it has an advantage for the Buccaneers because, like you mentioned, I think obviously the Chiefs will have some jet lag and it'll just be, whether or not we see it or not. I mean, look, the Chiefs come to play in every game and they just blow people away in every performance. So I don't really think it's going to make that much of a difference, but definitely it's something to watch for at the start of the game to see, because obviously Tampa Bay is going to be well rested and ready to go, and they didn't have to travel anywhere. They could like walk to the stadium. So, it's. I think that's definitely an advantage, but I don't know if it really equals a win or not. I think that's yet to be seen.
No, that's not what I was trying to equate it to. I was just wondering. Since
I know you were talking about like the fans. Yeah, you were talking about the fan stuff, but like also like you got to factor that in because since they're home, they're used to whatever's going on in Tampa, whereas obviously Kansas City is going to be flying in 2 days before the game. It's not like a normal Super Bowl week where they fly in the Monday or the Sunday before the game, basically. And they get a few days to get used to it, acclimate to the climate or whatever that's going to be down in Tampa and all that, and get to practice down there. Also, they're not going to really get a chance to do all that.
Yeah. So, Carlos, you mentioned.
I think that's a good point. I really do. It's
advantage Tampa.
Yeah. Yeah, Carlos, you mentioned about Tony Romo breaking his collarbone, but Tony Romo, he's a psychic now because
he called it six or whenever it was that they played.
It was week 7, week 6, and Kansas City won like 27-24. He was like,
"Yep,
I can see these two teams back in this stadium."
He said there's more than a good chance that these guys are going to be playing here in the Super Bowl in Tampa.
It's crazy.
And I remember when he said that, I was like, dude, there's no way.
Who was that? Sorry.
That was Tony Romo saying that.
Oh, okay.
He predicted it. What did they call him? Romo Damas, something like that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but I mean, wrapping up this, I mean, Tampa Bay, they're playing a Super Bowl at home. We will break down the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs in just a little while, but 31-26.
Hey, real quick, do you guys want to hear? You guys want to hear a crazy stat?
Let's hear a crazy stat.
Yeah, always.
So playoff records, okay, of active quarterbacks right now.
Oh boy,
Tom Brady, 33-11. Do you want to know who's next on the list? Ben Roethlisberger,
10 or
13 and 9. So Brady has 20 more wins than the next active quarterback.
I know
that's insane.
Yeah, I've seen that 33 playoff win thing everywhere, but yeah, I know Big Ben hasn't been very good in the playoffs, but yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane that he's got 30. Like, I wish I had that stat in hand. I want to know how many more playoff wins he has than like NFL franchises.
Oh man, I'm sure a lot.
I'm sure he's definitely past the Browns.
I'm pretty sure he's past Washington. I think Washington has like 25 playoff wins in their history, something like that. 26, something like that. Yeah,
I don't know, but
yeah, he's shutting down. He's shutting me down real quick before I can.
Yeah, before you.
Well, we're on a tight schedule. We have one more to cover.
Yeah.
Okay. So he has more wins in a postseason than about 75% of the league.
That's why he will be in the Hall of Fame 3 separate times.
Exactly. He's had like 3 Hall of Fame careers, but
yeah,
that's insane.
There you go. Tom Brady's the GOAT.
Tom Brady, New England, Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady as a whole NFL. He'll get 3 gold jackets if they make it.
No. It's Tom Brady when he started in New England, Tom Brady at the end of his career in New England when he won another 3, and then Tom Brady in Tampa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. 3 Hall of Fame careers right there.
Probably so, Carlos. Tampa Bay 31, Green Bay 26. We will be shifting our focus for just a moment. If you're subscribed to the Kirby on Sports podcast on YouTube, I will be having a very special interview up there sooner rather than later with Rob Carlin, the former host of Caps pre and post game live. We've dive into everything NHL related. So what we're going to do right now is play a small snippet of that interview to get you ready for the whole interview showing on the Kirby on Sports podcast YouTube page. We'll be right back. I want to get into some Caps hockey now. Most recently, they got fined $100,000 for breaking COVID protocol. I mean, I'm reading the reports here, and I'm like, yeah, it's great that the NHL is cracking down, but do you think this was too harsh? Like, I'm reading reports. I'm not sure if you know more than me, but I mean, it just sounded like four guys in a hotel room.
I will say this. I look, they broke the rules, right? So they broke the rules. They had to get fined. They had to get suspended. They broke the rules. I don't know if you saw what Ovi's wife put out on social media. Yeah. And there's some validity to that. So you're telling me they can go to the arena, they could be in the dressing room, they could skate and sweat and hit each other and hug each other after goals and sit right next to each other on the bench. All of that is fine, but you can't go in the hotel room together? That's where they're drawing the line? So, yeah, I don't love it at all, but those were the rules. You know, it's like when you're growing up and you're like, so I got home at 11:30. Why do I have an 11 o'clock curfew on a Friday night? I don't know. I'm just telling you your curfew is 11 o'clock. So you broke curfew. So, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, I did agree with Ovi's wife on that one. And I don't often follow what the wives are saying or, you know, anything like that. I try not to like get into that whole world, but I happened to read it and I was like, damn, she's not wrong. You know,
Yeah.
This seems very Bush League to me. And especially when you're talking about the greatest goal scorer, arguably of all time, your top center, your top pair defenseman. I mean, you're talking about, and your starting goalie. You're talking about, you know, four major players here. So it sucks, but look, they've gotten points despite it. So that's the beauty of the Caps. They're so deep that they can take those hits and still be able to get points.
For sports fans living in condominium and homeowners associations, as well as business professionals, when you need a reserve study, PM Plus Reserves has been in business since 1990. Their studies are accurate and easy to understand. Check them out when your association needs a study. www.pmplusreserves.com. You can also contact them at 703-803-8436. Once again, www.pmplusreserves.com. Is it finally time to upgrade your home's interior? How about with an authentic farm table made locally from recycled barnwood? Shenandoah Primitives, based right here in Winchester, Virginia, makes farm tables, benches, tables, coffee tables, and a long list of other items for your home decorating needs. At Shenandoah Primitives, function and style are combined for great furniture that will last generations. If you're interested in combining the industrial look of metal with wood, or considering something incredibly unique with a live edge, Shenandoah Primitives turns those ideas into reality. Thinking about a mirror, wine rack, or other accent piece for your home, Shenandoah Primitives can assist with that as well. As a local small business, Shenandoah Primitives is happy to work with each client for a custom design or schedule an appointment to come out and view current inventory. Local, high-quality, handmade items can be found at Shenandoah Primitives. Find us on Facebook and Instagram or visit us at www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, that's www.shenandoahprimitives.com. Once again, you can check out that full interview with me and Rob Carlin exclusively on the Kirby on Sports podcast YouTube page. Once again, I'm Josh Kirby, riding with me Dan and Carlos. Gentlemen, let's move on to the AFC Championship game.
AFC, yeah. Sorry.
AFC. But, I mean, Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs just did what Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs love to do.
I mean, crazy. Oh my God. Okay. Hold on. Let's preface this at first. of the fact that when it was 9-0, Kirby sends in our group chat, Bills Mafia, only for the freaking Chiefs to score 21 straight
unanswered.
points.
That's what happens. That's what
I was like, the curse of Kirby continues.
Well, the Bills put up 9. I mean, the Chiefs came back from worse. We saw with the Titans, but I was really
and the Texans last year.
Oh yeah. That
24
too.
zip.
Yeah. So no, I was really hoping to see the Bills pull one out because Bills fans needed this. But I was watching, and then Patrick Mahomes made good plays, and so on and so forth, and the Chiefs just busted it wide open. I mean, I feel bad for the Bills players and Bills fans, but the Bills, they will be back in this position soon. They will.
The biggest issue I have is Josh Allen taking 20-yard sacks. He did it like 3 different times.
Oh my Lord, man!
What the hell is he doing?
Get rid of the football.
He regressed for some reason in this game. But go on.
And he gets a penalty for throwing a ball at a Chiefs player head, and then I mean that game started to get chippy towards the end.
Yeah,
because Buffalo were sore losers.
That lineman just destroyed a Chiefs player, whatever, for the Bills, or vice versa. It was insane. I saw that 300-pound guy just plow over that Chiefs player
Josh
for
Allen,
for tackling Josh Allen, and I was like, wow, this game's starting to get really chippy.
It was after that too.
Yeah, the thing is like no one prepares better than the Chiefs, and they
absolutely.
Even when they started a little rusty, which 9-0 is really nothing for them because in all 3 games, all 3 playoff games last year, they were down by 10 or more points. And of course, you talk about the the first round game where they were down 24-0 and they came back to win. So what was it, 52-33 or something like that? 56.
Yeah, by halftime they were winning.
Yeah. It's just they are that good, and it's like I've been saying all season. They can flip a switch, and it doesn't take much for them to get hot, and it's just amazing. Mahomes, it seems to have wide open receivers all the time, and if they're not wide open, he's able to throw them open, which I've seen happen before, but I've never seen a quarterback do it as well as Patrick Mahomes does, especially on the run. I mean, his accuracy and arm strength on the run is just mind-blowing. I mean, if you created a player in Madden and he was 99 and everything, and you tried to replicate that, there's no way you could. There's no way you could put the type of zip on the ball and have the type of accuracy that Patrick Mahomes does on the run. I mean, he was 29 of 38 with 3 touchdowns and 325 yards. I mean, that just speaks for itself.
It went to show in this game. It really did, because you look at Tyreek Hill, 9 receptions, 172
it's just
yards.
Unreal.
Kelsey, 13 receptions, 118 yards.
The dynamic duo, man.
I mean, guys, we can all keep talking about Patrick Mahomes and how well he plays, how successful this whole Chiefs team is, until I beat a hole into my wall. But I mean,
I hope you don't do that though. They're going to be around for a while. They're not going anywhere.
I know, it's crazy. I mean, it's like this Chiefs team. There's never a new storyline because they're just playing good, hard, tough, physical football.
And nobody runs that. They run that motion play where they send the player in motion.
Yeah.
And he runs the same route every time, or they do either they run like it's almost like a crossing route, or they do a reverse.
Mm-hmm.
And that the Bills could not stop that. They must have run that 4 or 5 times, and it's just the speed, especially of Tyreek Hill. I mean, they utilize his speed all the time. It's not like Patrick Mahomes is throwing the ball 30 and 40 yards down the field. He doesn't have to, because he can throw it 7 to 10 yards.
And you can do a simple check down, and they'll be down the field in like 30 seconds.
Exactly, especially to Tyreek Hill, because I've never seen a player faster.
Dude, he's so fast. Oh my God. Think about what he did like in this game. He went from one side of the field to the other, and then like took it all the way almost to the end zone. It was nuts, man.
They're just so damn good. And the Bills didn't play their best game. I mean, they had the early lead, and after that, they were pretty much flat. Quite honestly, especially on offense. If you're going to beat the Chiefs, you either have to play really good lockdown defense, which we only saw twice this year, and once, of course, was against the Raiders. Of all teams, for some reason, John Gruden almost beat him twice, but for some reason he knew how to beat the Chiefs. Maybe the Bills should have contacted him before they played this game, because I mean they had wide open receivers for days. It's just and they really didn't get much pressure on Mahomes. They didn't hit him that much really after the first quarter. And then he was able to get outside the pocket, and that's where he's even more dangerous. And it's just a clinic. That's really all it is. And if you're going to beat the Chiefs, you have to hope and pray that you can keep that offense on the sidelines. And the Bills weren't able to do that after the first quarter. They had a lot of 3-and-outs and unsuccessful drives, and you're basically giving the Chiefs the game because they take advantage of 95% of the opportunities that they get.
Yeah, and even if you keep that Chiefs offense on the sidelines, you know, even if they have like 30 seconds, they can go down the field in 3 plays.
Right.
So like even that strategy isn't the best course of action. It's just so hard to beat this Chiefs team because their offense
difficult.
is so good. Like, think about it. They scored a touchdown in this game with an underhand throw
They
that was a
love that
fake.
play.
That's
like-
creativity that's only seen by the Kansas City Chiefs.
And only that the only team that could do that is the Kansas City Chiefs, because they have such, they have such great talent everywhere. Now, onto Buffalo really quick.
Wait, let me
like
say one more thing. Let me say one more thing about this. So the Chiefs offense, I was sort of curious to see. I searched Tyreek Hill's 40-yard dash time, and he has the fastest out of all the receiving core for the Kansas City Chiefs.
I don't
with
doubt
the
that.
4.2.
That's not surprising.
Guess what Mecole Hardman was?
What?
4.33.
Yeah, they have insane speed.
That's what the team is. This team is speed.
Hill, I mean, speed and domination. It's crazy.
And then they have Kelsey, who nobody can cover. You put a cornerback on him, and he just throws the ball up high, and you put a linebacker on him, and he's going to blow right by him. It's
Kelsey's tough. He is really tough.
World? Yeah, he took a lot of big hits in this game. Especially,
yeah, but he's big body. He can handle that. Those type
absolutely.
Of hits. No, I know. I was just saying. It's just insane. It's just this team is. I mean, if you had a fantasy draft, I don't know if you could draft a better team across the NFL. So
I agree. I mean,
mind-boggling.
But again, like onto Buffalo really quick. Man, what a dud by them, man. But at the same time, were we hyping the Bills up too much? Because think about their prior playoff wins against Indianapolis. They barely won that game. And that's because Phillip Rivers can't throw more than 50 yards. And they only won by, what was it, 4 points? I think it was like 28, 24, something like that. I can't remember the score.
Yeah.
Against the Ravens, even like they only scored 17 points.
Yeah, and they only scored 10 on offense.
It's not like their offense was like lighting up the world. And with Kansas City against Cleveland, Patrick Mahomes got hurt in that game, and then he was out pretty much a majority of the end of the game. And so it's just like there was a lot of talk about how, their offenses match, like, everywhere you go down, like they're equally matched. And I mean, then you see how the game went, and it was just like Kansas City just proved like there's levels to this game right now, and Buffalo's just not at the level of Kansas City at all. And Josh Allen, from playing great, not really making bonehead decisions of trying to like create plays. I mean, dude, you're being like, there's no way you're gonna get that ball. Like, you're gonna create a play here. You're running 20 yards back.
Mm-hmm.
You got a defender like holding onto your jersey, dude. Just launch it. Like, get it out of your hands. Like,
Yeah.
do something. Like, don't hold on to it and, get pushed out of, any shot of making, of getting another first down. Like, it was just these stupid little decisions that Josh Allen made in this game that really hurt Buffalo.
Yeah, and he was inaccurate. I mean, he missed 20.
Very.
He missed 20 completions, and he was overthrowing people, underthrowing people. Especially on third down, I noticed his accuracy seemed to not be what it was, and that's on him. But it's also on the Kansas City defense, who we don't talk about them enough because we're so focused on the eye candy that is their offense. I mean, it's just
they're so good.
They're so good.
I mean, look at this. Josh Allen was the Bills' leading rusher in this game.
88 yards.
Devin Singletary had 17 yards.
I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, that's another thing for the Bills is they didn't get a run game going. But another thing is, do you guys? I just think maybe the moment was just too big for Josh Allen. I just think they're slowly making progress. Now they've been there. I think they'll improve from here. I'm not saying Josh Allen is going to revert back to the way he was. I think he's going to continue building off of the year he had this year. But he just played really bad in this game. But I do believe Buffalo will always be the best. Will have the best shot at beating, at possibly stopping this Kansas City dynasty from happening.
Yeah, I mean, straight up, if you're going to beat Kansas City, you either gotta hope they
beat them in a shootout,
make a lot of mistakes, or B, you have to play perfect football. And the Bills didn't do either of those things. They got the early lead, and then they just fell out of favor, and they seem to forget where they were. And Kansas City takes advantage of that. They can score fast, and they can score at will, and that's really what happened. I mean, once they fell behind, it was like, okay, let's go. I mean, it's really like a switch they can just turn on, and they're in the end zone before you know it, especially if they get the ball to Hill or McKeel Hardman. Those guys are just burners. I mean, nobody can cover them. You basically have to put a safety 20 yards down the field and hope they can come up and cover a lot of ground and make the tackle, because if not, I mean, it's just going to be a hard road to come back from. So
yeah, and I think that McKeel Hardman started this game off with that muff punt, and then to go and score the quick touch and score that quick touchdown, and then also have that 50-yard run on the jet sweep. I mean, he really he really turned the narrative around, because he was almost about to be like the guy who ruined it for the Chiefs there.
Yeah,
but they turned
what it looked like.
Turned on insane. The Jets.
Well, I mean, remember, because that was that when that punt happened, it was only 3-0, and then they scored the touchdown, and then that's when Kirby freaked out and was like, "Bills Mafia."
Yeah.
But because I thought that could have been a potential turning point. I was like,
I don't know, but I don't know why you thought that, because even because then me and Dan even came up and said we can't count Kansas City out. They've been down by 24 and came back in one quarter, and this happened again. They were down by 9 and going into the second, and then they scored 21 unanswered. Straight up in the second quarter, and by the time it was 14-9, I was like, dude, it's over. The momentum is all on Kansas City. They can't be stopped. I don't know why you thought, this could be the moment. I never thought, it'd be one thing if they were down 35-0, and then I'd be like, yeah, going into the fourth quarter, I'd be like, yeah, I think it's pretty much over now. But 9-0 going into the second, there was no way in hell it was over. Not only that, it wasn't as if the reason why Buffalo even got that touchdown at that point was because of the muff punt. It wasn't because Buffalo was moving the ball up and down the field. They had just had a 3-and-out.
Yeah, but I mean, nonetheless, I mean, you can't deny the greatness of the Kansas City Chiefs. And as you look at this Super Bowl matchup, the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, I don't think you could have put together two better teams to face off head to head.
No. I don't think so either. I think this is such an interesting matchup, but we'll break all that down on the Super Bowl special next week. But yeah, I agree with you. I think these were the two best teams. I mean, they're definitely the two best teams in terms of talent on what they have on each roster. I do think, obviously the Packers would have been an interesting matchup also, but I think for sure, right now, these are the two best teams playing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Kansas City Chiefs 38 and the Buffalo Bills 24. Some programming notes. We will have a Super Bowl special like we do every year. Going to be the three of us still, and hopefully we'll come up with something creative. Not really sure what yet, so stay tuned
Making
for that.
bets because sports betting is legal in
Yes,
Virginia.
yes. FanDuel has a sports book out in Virginia. It's completely legal. You can bet on your phone. Carlos, did you start that? Did you make any bets yet?
Not yet. I want to make sure that when I do jump into it, I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
Like that. I'm well informed.
Dan, are you big into sports betting or not?
I would be. I understand it a little about it, but I don't know as much as I should. So
exactly, me too.
I definitely want to learn more though, because now it's legal in Virginia, and now we can really waste our money. Let's do it.
Apparently, it makes watching games more fun because now you have an actual betting interest and everything.
Oh
Right.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, some programming notes. Once again, we'll have a Super Bowl special, the three of us. Then, discussions on a Super Bowl pregame show. Stay up to date with us on all streaming platforms and all social media platforms as well. And we will get you updated on when and where everything will be and how you can listen to it per usual. Moving on from championship weekend to fight talk. And Carlos, I don't think this is the fight talk you wanted to be having, but
I mean,
Conor McGregor.
Prop 12.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it just looked like he got knocked out, and Conor looked like the Dallas Cowboys all season.
Yeah, that's not a good comparison, but okay, Kirby.
I just had to throw that out there for fun.
I mean, do better, but yeah.
I want your expert opinion on this because I woke up.
Well, I'm by no means an expert. I'm just a big fan. That's it. Don't ever call me an expert.
I saw that McGregor lost, and I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Is that how you said it?
Just like that. Oh my
goodness.
Yes. Thank you for that reenactment, Dan. We appreciate.
Josh Kirby, Mean Girls 3.
Oh, jeez. Put this in the blooper reel. My producer, put that in the blooper reel.
My producer, you're your own producer.
You got it.
I'm just trying to act professional, like we're on a radio show.
Yeah. But anyways,
let's get into this.
Yeah, I mean, Saturday was weird. This just did not feel like a normal Conor fight, because normally building up to a Conor fight, you just feel it, it just feel. But this past week, it just didn't feel right. It felt off. Conor felt off. They were saying the right things, but I don't know, just something just felt different. I think, I think Conor even said it himself. I just think his inactivity has finally caught up to him, because you can't go away for long periods of time and then, be able to perform at the same level, that you normally do. And in the time that Conor, has been out, since 2016, when Conor won both the featherweight and the lightweight championship, or the belts, and becoming the first UFC fighter to ever hold simultaneously two titles in the UFC. Since that point in time, he's only fought in the UFC about, let me see. So he fought Floyd after that. Then he fought Khabib after Khabib. Then he fought Cowboy Cerrone last year, and then this one. So he's only fought a handful of times. And in that time frame, Dustin Poirier, who obviously just beat him, had fought multiple times. I can't even name every opponent, but he had fought in, he he became interim champion in the meantime and fought against Khabib. And while Khabib did dominate him, as Khabib does to pretty much about everybody, Dustin Poirier really improved from their first fight. And a key thing in this fight was the low, it's a low calf kick, which like destroys your leg if you don't check it properly. And Conor even said it, that like it just kept hitting into the muscle, and that's what really like hindered his movements and stuff. And just eventually Conor just couldn't really get going, and a lot of his punches weren't landing. He just wasn't the same Conor that he was in 2016, and that's due to inactivity. And that's it. And like Conor just needs to fight more often if he wants to ever get back to the same level of how he was when he was on top of the world.
So as a watcher, you invest some time watching UFC. Were you surprised about this outcome?
No, I knew for sure, because I know how good Dustin Poirier is. I said it to multiple people that asked me about this fight. I said, listen, my money's on Conor, but I will not be surprised if Dustin Poirier wins, because Dustin Poirier is really good. He's had wars. I mean, his last fight before this fight was against, I believe it was Dan Hooker, who was in the co-main event. And it was just a war in there, and he won. And, also their first fight was at featherweight. So it was at 145 pounds. This fight was at lightweight, which is 155. And Dustin Poirier is a different fighter at this weight. And he has like really, really improved in a way that it's just incredible how good he is, that like how a difference of 10 pounds makes a huge difference in a fighter. So no, I was not surprised that Dustin Poirier won. In fact, I figured it was going to end in the second round. I just didn't know who was going to knock. I knew somebody was going to get knocked out. I just didn't know if it was going to be Conor or if it was going to be Dustin. It was just too close to call.
What really irritates me about these fights, it says it's advertised to start at 10, but doesn't start till like 12.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, come on, man. We gotta get some sleep.
Yeah. The pay-per-view starts at 10, and a pay-per-view card typically consists of 5 fights. So it's 4 fights leading up to the main event. It's definitely, you definitely have to have the stamina for it. I don't really have the stamina for it anymore. As it used to be like years ago, me and my little sister would go to B-dubs for every UFC pay-per-view card, and we would stay there all night. Now we only, we don't even go to B-dubs anymore. We just watch it at home, and we can barely make it through the fight cards anymore. It's tough. I do agree with you there that like I wish they would start the pay-per-views early, and then maybe the actual fight starts at 10 o'clock. But that's just not how they work.
I have to give props to Conor McGregor, because I mean they're in a ring and octagon fighting. And after Conor lost, I mean, we did see the Bernie memes of him choking him out, which I thought were funny. But I mean, the sportsmanship and the respect afterwards, just going up there and hugging him and just being like, congratulations, man. I mean, I thought that was really good to see that happen, because it's not like you hate each other and you're going in this ring to fight. You're doing it just because you want to fight an opponent and claim a title or something like that. And the sportsmanship after, I really, really liked that from Conor.
Yeah. Like I said, this was a different Conor coming into this fight. And even against Cowboy Cerrone and his last fight last year, it was pretty much the same way, where Conor's just, he's changed a lot since he first started in the game. You know, when he was coming up, it was a lot of trash talk, a lot of disrespect. I'm the greatest, a lot of that, which a lot of people were turned off by, but a lot of people loved it. I was one of the people that loved it because I'm like, listen, like he's calling his shot and like he's landing it. Like, it's not like, he's not backing it up. It's not like he's not, and it's not like he's being boring. Like, he's knocking these dudes out. But in their first fight against Dustin Poirier, a few years ago, like it got really, really, it got really bad. They did not like each other at all. But Conor won the first fight by knockout, and and Dustin pretty much picked himself back up and rebuilt himself and became a different fighter. And then also for what he's done with his foundation, with his charity foundation and all that stuff, like, and how he is as a father and everything. Conor now being a father himself, and becoming as successful as he is, he can't help but respect what Dustin Poirier has done. So it was definitely a different vibe for this fight. And also Conor knows how much a fight against him helps people, how much it changes fighters, families, because he's big money. He's big business. You're making a lot of money when you fight Conor McGregor, and he knows that Dustin Poirier is not only now has a win against him, it's going to propel him to be a bigger star than what he is. When you beat Conor McGregor, you become a superstar yourself. Think about Khabib, think about Nate Diaz, think about, Floyd was already a big star, but, think about, those two, it's going to happen for Dustin Poirier also because, Conor's a big name.
So let's go. I think it was on this card or a card before on that night. UFC president Dana White in a press conference said one of the fighters, he got kicked out of the league for sneaking somebody into the hotel. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. So what happened was
I thought that was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts when it came out. But so what happened was, according to people who have reported on it, was and to Dana White himself. So when you're on Fight Island, you get these wristbands that say that you've been tested and that you're clear and that you're supposed to be at Fight Island. Well, this fighter, I don't remember his name, but he and obviously, now it's not important because he's not even fighting in the UFC anymore. Him and his team somehow cut off the band, whatever the bands, and gave it to somebody that was outside of the bubble, on Fight Island. And that person managed to tape on the wristbands back on, got into and was in Fight Island, got into the hotel. And they were carrying a bag full of something that we have no idea what. Nobody knows. We never found out. Not even Dana White knows what it is. And he, went through the hotel and jumped over 4 balconies to get to the fighter's room to leave that bag there. What was in the bag, we don't know. But hopefully it was worth it because, now he got cut, because obviously that's a big deal. You're letting somebody who's outside of the quarantine zone in, and and you're putting everybody there at risk. Think about it. What if this guy had COVID and spread it around everywhere, and Conor McGregor catches it, the main event falls apart, the whole card gets canceled? That's a lot of money lost for the UFC. That's a lot of fighters not getting paid. You put everybody at risk for a bag that was filled with something that we don't know. But yeah, then he got cut. Security tried to stop the guy from leaving, and he ran, and they eventually caught him, and they figured out everything that happened, and he got cut from the UFC.
That is very, very bizarre.
Yeah.
I've never heard anything like that before.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just really stupid. And this guy was an up and coming fighter. He was apparently he was, on a roll. He was doing pretty well. And, now he'll probably never be in the UFC again. And now it's stupid decisions like that. You costed yourself a lot of money.
President Dana White of the UFC also said he was cracking down on the illegal streams of this fight. And he said, if you turn on the fight, we got you, explicitive. Obviously, it's illegal. You shouldn't be doing it, but is Dana White cracking down on everybody? Because I know a lot of people were probably illegally streaming this fight.
Yeah, mostly he's cracking down on the people who are not necessarily the people who are watching, but the people who are distributing. So I don't know too much about this, but they found a guy who's like the biggest like streamer like guy or whatever who illegally streams these fights. They found him. They put out the warning. They said, listen, if you turn it on and you start illegally streaming it to other people, we're going to get you. Like, we know where you are. And evidently this guy put out a statement on Twitter and said that he wasn't going to do it and put out the information on how to buy the fight yourself. And he said, yeah, I'm every fight, every pay-per-view, I'm going to go after one of these guys. So yeah, they're trying to crack down because, the thing is that the UFC loses a lot of money on stuff like that, I mean, and, they're, especially with COVID times, every cent counts. And, especially with a Conor card, you're going to make a lot of money off of that. You don't want to lose a lot on that.
Absolutely. Great insight once again, Carlos Martinez with Fight Talk. That about wraps up this edition of the Kirby on Sports podcast. Once again, programming notes. We will be coming to you next week sometime with a Super Bowl special, as we do every year. Then the day of the Super Bowl, we will have a Super Bowl pregame show. More details to be determined. So stick with us on all our social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and all streaming platforms, anchor.fm/the Kirby on Sports podcast to check in on all the news, all former episodes, so on and so forth. Make sure you check out the Kirby on Sports podcast on YouTube as well for more exclusive content. For Dan Dembski and Carlos Martinez, I'm Josh Kirby. As always, thanks to our sponsors, PM Plus Reserves, Shenandoah Primitives, and Chief Graphics. Big thanks, as always, to Dave Johnson and Productions by Quet for all their support as well. Gentlemen, thanks again, and we will be seeing you for the Super Bowl special. Until next time, remember to always create greatness, and we will catch you on the next episode. Peace out.